Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Esau Macaulay podcast. I am your host, Esau Macaulay. We have our producer, Mike.
Hey, Esau.
And today on the podcast, we have our friend and often regular contributor. We need to give him like an official title. Malcolm Foley. What should we call you? This like third host? What is your status for us?
Hey, whatever.
Hang on, Esau. You, by math, just called me a host.
Oh, you're right. Second host. You're right.
You just admitted.
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know that I was in England the other day.
I've got fans over there.
No, they weren't fans.
Oh.
Let me tell the story.
Okay. Slow your roll.
I was in England. I was in England last week. And so when I was there was a listener who said, "Hey, these people are being mean to you about the sausage rolls and the pastries." And they asked me had I had a pastries. For the people who are deep cuts who actually listen to the whole podcast, there were people who said that you all were mean to me. So that part is at least relevant.
Yeah, because people in London they're known for their food and how amazing their food is.
I'm just saying the people in England said that I was right for defending their pastries. But more important than whether or not I had pastry, there is some breaking news that we need to consider. At least for me, I was like, it's been all over my internet. Okay. It was breaking news for you.
All right.
Taylor Swift she's putting out an album. Now, it would be wrong for me to pretend like I know anything about Taylor Swift or that I was a Swiftie. But I thought it would be incumbent upon us as a serious news organization to cover this topic. But rather than us being able to do it, I don't think Malcolm, are you a Swiftie?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Now, we thought we would bring on a guest, a real Swiftie.
You got Travis Kelce on the podcast?
We didn't get Travis Kelce.
Oh, man.
But we got Lindsay Getz. And Lindsay, can you tell everybody about who you are? What do you do? Who are you, Lindsay?
I am a children's spirituality enthusiast.
Yes.
I work at the Center for Faith and Children, and
At
I'm
TEDS.
also yes.
And do you work at a church anywhere? Any churches?
I do. I work at your church.
Okay. So did I get a member of my congregation and force them with 30 minutes notice just for my podcast? I did. But you are also, the reason I know this is because I follow her on social, and I think every fifth post is a Taylor Swift post. So I said, okay, then here's a real Swiftie. So it's called the diary. What's it called? The diary of a show, the life of a showgirl?
The life of a showgirl.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why should I care about the life of a showgirl? What's going on here?
Okay.
This is your moment. You have 2 minutes to make me a Swiftie.
I have 5 reasons you should be a Swiftie.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. Also, you too, Malcolm and Mike. I don't know if you're a Swiftie or not, but you listen up too. Okay. All right.
Here we go.
So first of
5
all,
reasons.
she's a poet. All right.
Okay.
She
Poetry's
plays
good.
with words. She does fun things with them. Okay. One of my favorite lines is, "I bury hatchets, but I keep maps of where I put them."
Ooh,
Come on.
that's a bar.
Come
We should have Kendrick.
on.
We should have Kendrick rap Taylor Swift lyrics and see if I like him better. Okay.
Okay. All right.
She's a poet. Okay, number two.
Number 2. She is relatable. Okay. Taylor Swift. Listen, someone tried to tell me the other day that Taylor Swift only writes about her ex-boyfriends, and that is the lamest criticism of Taylor Swift in the whole world, because that's not true. Taylor Swift writes
writes about them.
human experience. She writes about the
breakups.
human emotional experience. Listen.
Okay.
Of living in a broken world as a person who loves deeply.
Okay, look at this.
Right?
She just did a Jesus juke for Taylor. You're too in.
It is. You want to know what album got me through my church hurt? It was Folklore. Okay.
Thank you, Folklore.
Should we
Not
clarify
ever.
the church
All
hurt
right.
was not with Esau?
No,
Okay.
no.
It was when I wouldn't allow her to play Taylor Swift during worship sets. That's what. Okay, we can't give you all 3 more. You got to pick out your best one. Give us your best one.
Okay, my best one.
Yes.
My best one is
Of
the
the remaining
lore.
3.
Okay, the lore,
Okay.
the Easter eggs, the maybe you saw Jimmy Fallon talking about the Easter eggs last night, or I don't know. It is so fun, all the interconnectedness, and there is nothing wrong with having fun. And also, overthinkers got to have something to overthink
Okay,
about.
so give us some examples of some lore related to this current album or Easter eggs. I saw all kinds of the number 12. Okay,
I
give
have
us
a
some.
theory. Can I share my theory? Okay.
Please
All
do.
right.
Now's your chance.
Okay.
Now's your
All
chance,
right.
Lindsay.
All right. So Toronto night 5 of the Eras tour.
Okay.
Taylor Swift played a mashup of 3 of her songs.
Okay.
And she was wearing a blue and orange dress. And the colors of this album are blue and orange. And I am telling you that my hope, this mashup was a 3-song mashup of the song Cassandra, Mad Woman, and I Did Something Bad. Okay. And my hope is that The Life of a Showgirl is an album all about
Cassandra doing something bad?
Grappling with the experience of being a woman in this society, you guys.
Oh,
so,
look at this. See?
Right.
See? Okay, so I think I'm sold. I'm ready. Are you
He's doing
Malcolm?
deep stuff.
Okay, there we go. Malcolm, have you been sold on the glories of Swiftum?
I can't. I don't. See. Well, I think my relationship with music. I think just my relationship with music might just be different.
Okay.
I respect you. I respect you,
Yeah,
Lindsay. I respect you and your love for Taylor. I know people like you.
Yes.
Lindsay, I'm not sure.
Those of your
I'm not sure.
I'm aware of you.
I'm not sure you convinced me either, but I am grateful that we spent 5 minutes talking about Taylor Swift. I think the algorithm's going to like that. And anything that gets those download numbers up makes me happy.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Is there somebody, this is a question for Malcolm, it's a question for Mike. Is there an artist for whom you would go to Swiftie levels of fandom if they were to release an album? Like if you found out this person was dropping an album, who is it that can get you going like this emotionally? You can have either a Christian artist or a secular artist. I'm going to tell you who mine is. I'll start.
Do they still have to be alive?
Yes, they have to be walking the earth. It has to possibly happen. Okay. Can't be Michael Jackson or something. Okay. So mine is Andre 3000 from the Outkast. If Andre 3000 said, I'm coming out of rap retirement and I'm going to make a rap album, I would actually be, you'd have me at hello. So that's mine. And I want to try to think if there's like a Christian artist who can do this. It's like the people who I know are still putting out albums. I get excited anytime Jackie Hill Perry puts an album. It's coming out pretty soon. I'm gonna shout out Lecrae's album coming out pretty soon. I get excited about that. And anytime Kirk drops something. So like those 3, anytime they get ready to put out an album, I'm ready to go. So Malcolm, do you have anybody?
And you prepped me, man. You asked me this question before, and so I tried to think about it. But my relationship with music is it's much more sporadic. Like with any artist, there tend to be like maybe a number of songs that I like, but then other ones that I'm like, nah, I'm not so much into that. So even when I think about the range of genres that I listen to, because I listen to like symphonic power metal and
I'm sorry, what? I don't even want to know what that is. We'll just let the algorithm. I don't think that's going to get the algorithms going. Symphonic power metal is not for the algorithms. Okay.
Power metal, like Byzantine chant, like they're just like there's a
that
range.
New Byzantine chant just dropped. Okay.
I have a wide range, but it's like one-offs. I mean, electronic dance music, like there's a lot of stuff.
So do you have anybody who you're excited about?
So, well, actually, there is a group.
Okay,
we're just looking for a name.
It's a name. We need a name, Malcolm. Give us a name.
So Polyphia is the name.
Okay. We might kick Malcolm off the podcast and let Lindsay finish up.
I'm not. Look, it's not.
Polyphia. No. I don't want an explanation. If you want to know who Polyphia is and you can spell it, you can Google it. Mike, do you have an actual artist anybody's heard of? We went from Taylor Swift to Polyphia. Like I don't think those two people have ever been together.
I mean, that's the title of this episode. Clearly,
the people that this algorithm picks up, it's gonna be an interesting set of conversations. That's all I'm saying.
I will say I'm a big John Foreman fan. And Switchfoot as well. If John or Switchfoot came out with an album.
Do you know that I met John Foreman? Yeah, I did. We were in an event together and we hung out. And at the end of the event, we were such good friends. He invited me to go surfing with him.
Whoa.
And I even though if I went into the ocean, I would die. Like surfing would literally kill me. I played off like, sure, like the next time I'm in California. We could, and I'm not a big like take pictures on the internet guy and like post it with famous people. If you scroll through the Esau Macaulay Instagram, there's a picture of me and John Foreman.
You still got that phone number? Could we get him on the podcast?
I think he said he was busy when I said you want the.
You just Esau, you weren't rejecting me. You were rejecting your own show.
Just to get to you. You're right. Okay, Lindsay, we know that you're a Swiftie, but before you go, is there somebody else who you're waiting to drop before you leave us?
Oh, Regina Spektor. 1,000%.
Oh my, Samson. Yeah. Okay, then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
We'll have a conversation later after the podcast. Thank you so much for coming. The next time we have a Swiftie question, you are now the official Taylor Swift correspondent for the Esau McCauley podcast. Thank you so much for coming.
Job.
Welcome to the crew.
See you later. So, from Taylor Swift to someone else who is actually in the news, this is actually Mike's corner for today. So we're going to give Mike the opportunity to introduce this story about our friend Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah. So Esau, you went away for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I was gone.
And I think the story that entire time was all about Sydney Sweeney and this new ad campaign with American Eagle. So she's got a new ad campaign, and the slogan is Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Great genes.
Spelled with a J.
Okay.
And in one ad, Sweeney is quoted as saying, genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. And then adding, my genes are blue. So the campaign has gotten some backlash because there are some who are claiming that this is not just an innocent ad, but some would even go as far to say that this is like advocating for eugenics, that this is just another example of glorifying white beauty. And I don't know, and then of course the conservatives on this have been like, this is ridiculous. You guys are taking it way out of context. You're creating controversy where there is none. So my question to you, Esau and Malcolm, is there legitimacy there to this? Or is this kind of an overreaction?
So I want to say this. It's
basically
funny.
Tell me how mad I should be, Esau.
You should be mad that you're once again being manipulated. I'll put it that way. So one of the things there's a couple of things we want to say whenever we get into a story like this, because there's a bunch of layers and there's a bunch of ways of getting into it. But I'm going to say a couple of things. Yep. We all recognize that there are certain European standards of beauty that have become normalized in American discourse, and that people who don't fit that. So even if you want to say if blonde, white, blue hair is the beauty standard, then like proximate to the people will be like lighter skinned African Americans and other people of color. And then darker skinned African Americans are seen as being kind of less traditionally beautiful. And so one of the things, it is true to say that I cannot imagine, let's take Lupita Nyong'o. I cannot imagine them having that exact ad and using her genetics as a like good genes. I just don't think they would do it. And so I do think it's important to say, yes, that is the reality, that we've had certain European standards of beauty that have been kind of put forward in American culture. The people who deviate from that have been seen as less than. But here's a much deeper question than that. Is that the Gene Company doesn't actually care about Sydney Sweeney.
No.
So they think, here we go, they think that Sydney's body can sell jeans.
Exactly.
In the exact same way, there's another set of ads that Beyonce is doing. Who's Beyonce is with?
Levi.
Beyonce has a set of Levi ads. And interestingly enough, now there's conservatives who are saying that the Beyonce ads are illegitimate and they aren't as good as, and so they turn everything to a culture war. And so what I'm saying is that both of these women are being objectified for the sake of the company's exploitation of them. And so what I think we should really what we should not fall into the trap of doing is saying, I want to fight for the right to be exploited just like everybody else.
Esau, if we learned anything from 2020, it's that companies would never try to take advantage of a moment to sell things, that we can trust companies to be the moral standard that we should all look up to.
I remember that. So we'll get to the companies in a second. I want to make sure I give Malcolm an opportunity. Yes. So what I want to say to this is that what I would say is that as a Christian, I think that Sydney Sweeney and Beyonce and any other person is made in the image of God. And that the use of their bodies, the attractiveness of their bodies to sell a product is an objectification of them, and fighting over who is being objectified is not a way to bring respect to to females in the world, generally speaking. If you can have like a dude enter into this conversation. What might you think, Malcolm?
To add another layer to that, there's a sense in which we are currently in what some have called an attention economy, where companies not only kind of produce particular goods, but they're seeking to commodify our attention. Every minute and second of our time is there's the risk of it being essentially commodified. And so the folks who win from us continuing to have these kinds of conversations are the corporations that, I mean, like it's fulfilling. I mean, it's fulfilling its purpose in the sense that everybody knows about it and is talking about it. Now, whether or not that translates into sales, this is always the bet that advertisers and marketers make. But the goal is get it out to as many people as possible. So whether or not like that controversy, I mean, the levels of controversy, whether or not people thought that would pop up when they initially planned it is in some ways largely irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that it's working. In many ways, it's probably working in more ways than they thought. As long as the backlash is not kind of exclusively negative, I'm sure the folks in the boardroom are like, hey, we're getting out there. That's going to work for us.
I think that you're right though, Mike, that these companies are fundamentally amoral. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why it's the Coca-Cola ad that sticks into my head. But I feel like there was a particular Coca-Cola ad that was happening around the like Black Lives Matter
I think that
moment.
was Pepsi.
Was it Pepsi?
With Kendall Jenner?
Yeah.
She like handed a Pepsi to
and it was
a police officer.
Mm-hmm. And so clearly, and one of the things that you can see is these companies are always lagging indicators. So they're rarely like out front on these issues, but society is caring about justice. When they said, let's talk about justice. Mm-hmm. But they were talking about now that Hollywood has gotten less diverse and more kind of sensual because they think that Americans are post-justice. And so Hollywood is responding to that idea. Oh, you don't want to talk about justice anymore? You just want to have less diversity and more exploitation?
Great, we'll do that.
Here you go.
Yeah.
And so what you begin to see then, if you understand this, that the god of these companies are money, right? The god of this company is money, mammon, right? And you say, okay, their goal is to get as many people to buy their product. And so whatever means happens. And so when Sydney's like, I'm going to talk about this. One of the things that's really interesting is that when they talk about, when you read about women as they age, and one of the things they talk about is that, she's 60 years old, but she still looks just as good as she did when she was 20 or 30. Same thing with guys. And the whole idea is that this person is still exploitable. And maybe we need to get to this point as Christians to saying, yes, there's nothing wrong with being in shape. There's nothing wrong with being attractive. But if you are simply using me for the sake of economic gain, then nobody's being set free. So defending or criticizing Sydney isn't, to me, moving forward the question of justice. So what I would say is maybe we can say, is there a reason I ought to buy your jeans other than the fact that there's an attractive person wearing them?
Yeah, I mean...
So you can be mad, right? You can be mad at the exploitation.
One of the things that I also ask is like, what's the relationship between representation and justice? Yeah, because I think it can be easy to just kind of conflate the two. Yeah, as though the goal is just, well, we want to be in all of these spaces, even if they're fundamentally exploitative spaces. Yeah. And sometimes we ask the wrong question. Sometimes we get upset. We get upset just about the nature. Just about the fact that we're being excluded from a space without thinking about whether that space is a space that we want to be in the first place. So
there's this song, and I feel like I don't want to Jay-Z listens to the pod.
Of course.
And so
as he should.
There's this line in this Jay-Z song. It's in 444. It's one of the songs in there. And he goes, what's better than one billionaire? Two? Yeah. And the idea is that like what we need is more black billionaires. I remember seeing I remember seeing someone saying, well, or maybe we need to have redistribution of wealth so that more people get a living wage, right? And so the idea is that okay, we've won as a people if you have 4 or 5 black billionaires, and because now we have a black billionaire, maybe we have a black person who owns the NFL team or a black person who owns an NBA team, and all those things are great. But if the collective people aren't any more free, then what good does it do? Like, it's good to be able to see, oh, congratulations, you own the NBA team, but there's still the same problems in the city. So you're right. We need to ask the question, do we want that jeans advertisement? And the answer to the question is no.
Yeah, because it's the broader question. What you just named is something that Adolf Reed and some others name this, that our goal is not just kind of not just representation among the billionaire class, as though there being a bunch of black billionaires actually benefits me. Because it doesn't. Like it doesn't. The goal is that kind of everybody has the resources that they need to be able to live.
Yeah.
That the ideal society is not one where where inequality is racially equitable. Like that. Like that's not. It's one where we're doing away with.
But I do think it's important to kind of like, I know we kind of joke and we kind of see this as not that serious a question. I can't understand if you're someone like I'm not a light skin, I'm a dark skinned dude. And like there's not a lot of dark skinned dudes who like are on TV. And it's like, oh, there's a guy who's on TV. And for the people who are the victims of the being seen as less than because they don't have the European standards of beauty. I remember you're not old enough. How old are you, Mike?
35.
Okay, you're not old enough. Let's set this part of the conversation up. I remember when Lauryn Hill was winning all of those Grammys for the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And it was a dark-skinned black woman with dreads who everybody just thought was like the best thing ever. And it was a sense of like, oh, maybe we do exist. So I do want to grant that by saying you can have representation without participating in exploitation. Hi, it's Esau. If you're looking for another fascinating podcast that touches on religion and spirituality, I have the perfect recommendation for you. The Signal award-winning show, No Small Endeavor. As a friend and recent guest of the podcast, I can truly say it's worth a listen. Produced by Great Feeling Studios and PRX, No Small Endeavor explores what it means to live a good life. Each episode, host Lee C. Kemp sits down with special guests like pastor and theologian Tish Harrison Warren, civil rights hero Reverend James Lawson, and one of the world's most influential living theologians, Stanley Hauerwas, to discuss how their faith shaped their journey. If you're looking for a place to start, check out their recent episode with Americana songwriter Drew Holcomb, in which he unpacks how creativity is a way to overcome fear and make something that didn't exist before. It's a beautiful heart-to-heart. Don't miss out. Follow No Small Endeavor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
Zones field got him doing football numbers, only half is grown. He was acting grown.
Now, in a different way, only like within the same genre, but probably on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's also a story about this guy named Neil McDonough. This is the East. Do I get a corner?
Yeah, I guess it's your podcast. We can give you a corner.
This is Esau corner. If you're worried
Keep
about
it quick, Esau.
If you're worried about Sidney Sweeney, I'm worried about Nicholas McDonough, Neil McDonough.
Neil McDonough. Yeah.
He was talking about they'll put a picture of him. I'll put a picture of him somewhere on the post. He's this guy who you've seen in all of these movies, and he's always a villain. He's always a bad guy. He gives off bad guy vibes. He's always like scheming to kill people. And he did this interview where he talked about how for a long time he thought his career was over because he's a devout Catholic, and he made this rule that he's not going to participate in any sex scenes. He doesn't even kiss another woman. And so he says, like, I'm married to my wife. I don't want to be in any scene at all. And because I don't want to be involved in that. Murder people, yes. Sex scenes, no. And so I thought that was an admirable decision. But Mike, you were a little bit more skeptical about this, right?
I read the article.
Look at Mike. Yeah, this is Mike. Okay. Get him, Malcolm.
Hang on. I read the article. Okay. I agree with his stance. That's great. If he wants to do that, awesome. But like, there was just a couple things that were a little odd about the article. Go ahead. Like he mentioned that he was on set of this TV show when like the producer came into his trailer on a day they were filming and told him, you're about to film a sex scene. And he was like, what? And I'm just kind of like, all right. You sign contracts in this industry.
Oh, okay.
Usually within that contract, there is a clause on if you're willing to be nude or participate in sex scenes. And like, it just, like, it felt like you should have known already. Like, this shouldn't have been, you should have read the script. Like, it's just like there was just like a lot of things that made me think
before you get to the shooting
moment. And it just made me wonder, like, because he claims he was blackballed because he had this stance. And part of me is like, or were you blackballed because you were a jerk who didn't read the script for your contract and like disrupted filming when like all of this could have been easily avoided in advance?
So Malcolm, the reason I thought this was important is because regardless, we'll let the internet just eat you alive for that whole take. I'm going to let that take simmer for a little bit. And I'm going to talk to Malcolm. Malcolm, this is what I want to say. Yeah. I do think that what I find interesting about this particular story is that obviously most of us aren't going to be in Hollywood deciding whether or not we're going to participate in fake sex scenes. And it is interesting to say that he will portray like a criminal or a murderer, but he won't do this. This is fine. Everyone has their line that they have in their job where they say, because of my Christian values, because of who I am, I refuse to do that. And I thought that part was admirable. The idea that as a Christian, there are parts of whatever industry we're a part of that we say this particular thing is damaging. And it could be that it's objectively not sinful, right? But that I feel uncomfortable doing it because of what it's going to do for me spiritually. Malcolm, do you think that it's important for Christians to sometimes stand on business, or do you ever actually recommend people to make these kinds of ethical decisions around their job?
Yeah. I absolutely do, and regularly. So it's funny to tell this story because I went through similar thoughts as I was doing theater in undergrad.
Okay, you were a theater guy.
All right, let's ask him. Malcolm, did you ever have to kiss?
Yeah, in theater, did you ever have to kiss somebody?
Yeah. I did, and this was as I was dating my at that time girlfriend, now wife.
And how did she feel about it?
So this was.
So wait, are you Neil McDonough? Is this why you?
Well, it sounds like he did kiss her, so apparently not.
I think he refused, and that's why he ended up in the academy. Wait, you kissed her? You locked lips?
I did.
Wow, so you were giving me grief because I just was annoyed he didn't read the script ahead of time.
We were just dating.
Okay, go ahead. Kissing Mike.
But all this is to say,
Okay.
Yeah. All this to say, yes, but that did go through my mind. I mean, one of the reasons why I decided to stop doing theater after undergrad, and also, I mean, now that I'm married, and now that I'm married to Desiree, like I would have that same rule. Like I'm not kissing other people. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm also not going back to the stage, but that's its own thing. But
he calls it the stage. You know he's a real actor. He calls it the stage.
More broadly,
he's still hoping that maybe someone calls him out of retirement.
I agree with Denzel that that's where real theater is. But but yes, I think that whatever space that we're in, I think Christians need to understand that whatever space that you're in, your first and foremost commitment is to Christ.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that when we go into various industries, there are going to be assumptions of what's about what's acceptable and what's necessary for the job to be acted out. And I think what happens is a lot of folks get into those spaces and think, well, for me to keep this job, I might have to compromise because that's the kind of fear that our economy presses. Because you need a job in order to live, you're essentially encouraged by that fear to just do whatever it takes to keep that particular job. And so for example, I mean, sometimes I'll talk to students, and sometimes I'll be talking to them about issues of nonviolence and stuff. And it'll be like engineers who are thinking about working for Lockheed Martin and stuff like that, and they'll be like, "How do I think about that?" And I'm like, "Well, you have to listen to your conscience. If you know that the things that you're contributing to are going to lead to the unjust deaths of people, like you're gonna have to make a decision. Is that something that your conscience is going to be able to bear? Because there's significant amounts of moral injury that people." That people find themselves in because they make these decisions out of fear of losing their jobs and stuff like that.
One maybe I should ask you this, Mike. As a Christian, are there things for our podcast
like the worst poker face of all time?
I was trying to be like I was gonna be serious.
Right, hang on, I want to because I have a thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Before you just derail this conversation, because I agree with everything you said, Malcolm. And I think what's happening here, potentially, I don't know Neil very well.
At all.
The occasional Christmas card. Yeah. No, but I think oftentimes when Christians we'll just say like, are persecuted or like have to make some of these decisions, you also do need to ask yourself, am I being a martyr or am I being a jerk? Or am I trying to take pleasure in being a martyr and a victim? And I think like it's one thing to have a principle and a stance and stick to it. It's another thing then to whine about, I had this principle and look at how awful and how mean everyone was to me, and just kind of have this victim mentality. And like, I even kind of would tie this back to we're going to cut all of this.
Yeah. No, we'll keep this.
Oh no, we're keeping this.
We keep this engagement.
I would even...
He's on that ledge. He can feel it.
I know. I would even tie this back to the Sydney Sweeney conversation of like, are people just looking for a reason to be outraged, to be offended? And it gets to this point where it's this kind of form of virtue signaling, performative type of action.
Well, I want to say this. I think that you do have. Maybe we can bring Denzel into this, right? We'll bring Denzel. Like,
let's bring Denzel.
Bring Denzel, because Denzel also does a lot. He's spoken a lot about his faith and how he chooses roles as well. Mm-hmm. And what he has said about roles is he looks to see if there is kind of a larger lesson for like the films. We talked about this when he did Training Day. He said he wrote on the top of every page, the wages of sin is death. And so it's not that every single person who he portrays is virtuous. It's that there has to be some kind of moral world within which that portrayal makes sense. And so if that's how Denzel manages to like make that line, then that's fine. If Neil says, no, I'm not simply going to say within this moral world does this character make sense, but there's certain activities that I can't engage in. I think that those are both kind of valid ways of going about it. Now I would just say in particular in my job, it's weird because I teach the Bible. And I have to be careful because I don't want to be too negative towards the academy. And there's ways in which this can be misunderstood. But there's sometimes, one of the things that I learned as I was getting into my field, is there's this general idea that we don't take any of this religious stuff too terribly seriously. That it's an interesting intellectual exercise. And for us to be able to proceed as serious scholars, we need to set our piety aside. And kind of, even when I'm talking about, it's not just in the scholarship, like you need to be putting Jesus on every page, but I'm talking about in the lobbies and in the conversation. The idea is that like none of us take this stuff terribly seriously. I was like, well, no, I'm actually motivated by this to do this work because of my own spiritual and religious convictions. That doesn't mean that it's going to make my arguments better, but I feel like this consistent pressure to be less Christian in decidedly theological and biblical spaces when you're engaged in conversation. And so part of what I've said for my own career is like, I can't pretend like this stuff doesn't matter. The same thing happens in as it relates to books. You write a book for certain university presses where you're just studying this abstract religious idea that it doesn't matter whether it's true or false, that's fine. But even if on the side, you write a book where you say you believe all of this stuff, now all of a sudden you're a popularizer. And so part of what I've tried to do is in the academy is to say, even if it negatively impacts my career, I have to remember that my audience isn't simply other academics that I'm trying to impress, but also the church. So maybe I'm just sympathetic because I'm like Neil, grumpy Neil.
But I see, I would draw the difference of like, you have not created as part of your personality that I'm a victim because the academy is not giving me all the opportunities that I
just text that to Malcolm.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't put it on the internet.
Yeah, we keep that.
I'm just saying. At one point,
at some point, you got to text through it. This is the advice.
Exactly. Just text through it.
Don't tweet through it. Don't do interviews about it. Just text through it. Go ahead.
At one point in this article, Neil wrote, and for 2 years, I couldn't get a job. I lost everything you could lose, not just houses and material things, but your swagger, your cool, who you are, your identity. This is not a sympathetic person. Okay.
I think the problem is you've seen him in all of these movies where he just...
No, I think you are projecting. I just don't think he's the guy we should be putting on a pedestal of virtuous Christian faith.
I want everybody who's been hankering to make Mike the co-host of this podcast as the voice of the people, you all just weigh in on the comments. We're going to let the people decide. Yeah. We're going to go on to the next topic.
If people are going to decide between me or Neil McDonough.
The people, the comments will tell us. We will come back next week and see how it went. For our last topic, we're going to actually toss it over to Malcolm to give us a little bit of an introduction to what we got going on with gospel music and CCM. Because that's the other thing that I missed while I was out. I was running around England eating sausage rolls. What was going on with the gospel music and CCM?
I mean, yeah, apparently something blew up with Maverick City.
Okay.
So the guy who's the CEO of their parent company apparently was criticizing traditional gospel music, saying and specifically called out Never Would Have Made It, and was like it's a little much. Yeah, it doesn't resonate with younger Black Christians.
And he said that gospel music is often over singing and doing stuff, and he said that Maverick City alone outstreams the entire gospel industry. Now I'm going to admit that I was triggered. I'm going to tell you when I was triggered. Because when I was going through something, Never Would Have Made It got me through. Like there was that song when I was working. I was working on my PhD, and I thought I was going to flunk out of PhD school, as my kids call it. And I would listen to Never Would Have Made It, and I would say to myself, one day this is going to be your testimony. That you thought that you were going to make it, and you did. And when you do make it, you got to give glory to God. Now, it wasn't the CEO of Maverick who had singing that song. It was my buddy Marvin Sapp. Now,
I mean, I listen to that after every one of our recordings. It's the only thing that gets me through.
So this is what I want to say, though. I think it's very easy. I think it's very easy for us to either just demonize Maverick City and just had this as an opportunity to say gospel music is important. First thing you want to at least acknowledge is this was the CEO, not all of the artists and all the musicians who are like a part of it. So I think it's really hard when the guy who like makes who the money guy is trying to speak for the artist. So I don't want to necessarily portray all artists in this way. And I also want to acknowledge that music changes. That what we now consider traditional gospel music, someone like Kirk Franklin, when he first came into gospel music, he was seen as the radical. And so, and I grew up, my grandfather was he was in a quartet. And there was a time where like gospel quartets were like the thing. And if you listen to gospel quartets and you listen to Mahalia Jackson, that's not how gospel music sounds now. So gospel music changes over time, even within itself. With all of that being said, I think our guy was tripping.
every genre of music changes over time. Bro was tripping.
Let me say this though. One of the things that I think is really interesting is at the center of the argument was, how does this do streaming wise? Well, it's obviously the case that Maverick City or CCM is a part of like more white churches, which has more money and resources that are bigger. The Black church is like 10 to 12% of the United States. So a genre that is dedicated primarily, that comes out of the Black church, is going to be streamed less than a genre that appeals to the other 70% of people in the United States. But beyond that, when do we ever judge gospel or Christian music by its monetary impact? Because one of the things you could say is that gospel music is at the center of so much cultural stuff. I mean, I was listening to the clips for the sake of the podcast the other week.
Right, yes.
But if you listen to like clips, if you listen to like, there's very few even hip hop albums now that don't bring in elements of gospel music. Yeah. And that you begin to see like the influence of the gospel choir sound. It's both, anytime you want to go for something that is grand, you see gospel music. Here's another example. When what's the guy's name on the Daily Show?
John Stewart.
When right after Colbert got kind of fired, and he comes on to the Daily Show, he's going to this whole spiel about why, this is a horrible thing. And the climax of it, in the background, he's cursing, he's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But in the background to what he's saying, to give it gravitas, he has a gospel choir. And so the idea that the musical influence of gospel music is not permeating every aspect of the culture, it's just not intellectually serious to deny that. And not just like in a cultural influence part, the fact that it was the music of resistance that inspired people to be the best version of their Christian selves. Because before they would go out and march in the civil rights movement, you know what they would sing? spirituals. And so for me, it's not about streaming. It's about what gospel music has done in the lives of African Americans to encourage them spiritually and the way that it continues to resonate in our culture. Malcolm, if I let something out, you jump in.
No, paired with that, I mean, there's also just like the theological and spiritual content of it too. I mean, you can have the content conversation about the distinction.
Give me the content conversation.
So like this is. I think about this as we determine like worship for the church every week, and we think about the themes that are present in current Christian music and what's present in gospel music. I mean, we're constantly looking for hymnody and songs that deal with especially like justice for the oppressed, all these things that Christ has called us to like regularly. Yeah. But those are also less. You get less streaming. for those kinds of things. And so what gets fed kind of over and over again, whether we're thinking about the Hillsong stuff, whether we're thinking about Maverick City or whatever, like there's not only a vibe that's most popular, but there are also styles of content where the goal is, the more people can uncontroversially sing it, the better it'll do. Yeah. And at least for me, like I'm not concerned with what's uncontroversial. I'm concerned with what orients our eyes and our spirits toward the Lord and towards love of our neighbor.
But the real question is where that pathos comes from in gospel music.
Exactly.
What I mean by that is that these were songs written by people who were experiencing real economic, social, and spiritual oppression.
They've been through stuff.
The pathos of the music comes from the pathos of the experience. And so anyone's ever actually listened to a gospel song, you recognize this moment where the song ceases. It doesn't matter who wrote it. It is the person who is performing its song. And you can feel them pouring into the very singing of the song, the years of spiritual or emotional trauma that are being healed through the song. And it's not uncommon in gospel music for the person to be so caught up in the song that they can't finish the song. Because you can see as they're singing it, they're recounting their own testimony. And so when you say never would have made it, you're thinking about all of the stuff that would have made it. And so that's the difference between, and so I'm not saying that Maverick City can't experience that pathos. What I refuse to do is to have to choose between one and the other. I think in our church that sometimes when we sing CCM, one of the hard things to do is to fight to say, okay, we need to have space for gospel music, which is the hardest to perform.
Yeah.
And CCM, and to be honest, classical hymnody.
Yeah.
That all three of these things, at least the traditions that I come from, are things that are important. So Malcolm, do you choose the music in your church?
Yeah. So we have a worship director who does, but we gather every week to determine the liturgy for the coming weeks. And so we all, especially my co-pastor and I, when there are song suggestions that we have for a particular week, we throw that in. Yeah. And then like sometimes, I mean, I'll throw songs like into my sermon. So for example,
he wanted them singing pastors.
There was one. No, only on occasion.
I mean, former actor on the.
When I say hate, I'm jealous because I can't do it. So I'm not saying I actually hate it. I love it. I'm just like, you know how you see somebody do stuff, you gotta put your head down. Yeah. Whenever the pastor starts singing, I'm in their church. I'm like, I guess y'all should go to that church.
There was one instance where. It was at the end of the sermon, and I just did a little bit of I don't feel no ways tired by James Cleveland, because I'm just like, I'm looking for a song that communicates particularly this message, and it's just especially to think about just how exhausting it can be to fight against the powers and principalities and things like that. Like there are some of those songs that just they capture that pathos in a way that is difficult to find in other places. And it's just, it's raw and it's honest and it's beautiful.
What I do is I try to harass our worship leader and say, you should see this. I was trying to get her to do, I will trust into the Lord until I die. You know that song?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you can, I don't know, I think it's a rule that you got to be at least a 65-year-old black male before you can sing this song. Mike has no idea what's happening in the podcast. He's like, you just be quiet. Just learn. Google this.
I'm with you, bro.
There's a sense in which you can tell when he is saying, I will trust in the Lord until I die, that there might be some stuff that kills him in the meantime. Yeah. And I think that kind of stuff it defies streaming. It's not a thing that you quantify. But all that to say, I think you can affirm the beauty of gospel music without dumping or dunking on Maverick City and say that there are music that they do that is blessed the body of Christ as well. Do you have anything to add about the glories of gospel music before we can return back to Mike's Corner?
No, the only thing I'll add is, as someone who is often disappointed in this, the lyrics of modern day worship songs because they lack any sort of depth or substance, the way you both described the lyrics of these gospel music songs, it makes me want to listen to them more.
Oh, you can.
It's
literally
objectively great music.
It sounds way better than
I just can't imagine. I just can't. Sorry, I shouldn't stop. I should stop before I get to people. But I'm thinking like, what? No, I should just stop.
Just say it. We can always cut it. I'll cut it.
Yeah, cut it later.
I'm saying like, there's a sense in which people are flipping and taking into this. One of the things I don't like about what happens in gospel music, they try to take the pathos of it and remove the theological content. Because even the people who are no longer Christian remember how the music made them felt. And they said, I want to add this feeling into my songs. And so something that's lost in that. I just don't believe in like 30 or 40 years or 20 years, they're going to be flipping and saying, I want this line from like this acoustic worship song and to put it into a hip hop album because they're going to make people feel something.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's the way that it works aesthetically. But that's no shade to guitars. Jesus loves guitars and Hammond organs. Malcolm, do you have anything going on that you need to promote, that you need to get the people to know about?
No, man. I'm on the travel portion of my book tour. So now I'm just going around and traveling and doing my crusade against Mammon. That's basically what I'm into.
Where can people find you on the socials? Because I feel like your social media is exploding right now. Producer Mike at hotmail.com.
I'm not on the socials.
Okay.
But Esau, you have a children's Bible coming out soon.
I do.
Look at you.
Yeah. And next week, we're going to announce a giveaway on how you, the listener, can win one of these Bibles for free. And let me tell you, you gave me a copy. So gracious of you. Okay. I've been reading it to my boys, and our 7-year-old loves it. I mean, really, really
I'm gonna get one too.
Loves it. It's been great. Our 4-year-old, it might be a little bit over his head.
Really? You realize I'm trying to sell the books.
I'm just saying.
You just cut out all 4-year-olds. That part needs to come out of the podcast. What are you doing?
I'm just saying, when I pulled the book out like the third night, my oldest son was like, yes. And my 4-year-old goes, that book's boring.
Maybe it's your kid's problem. Maybe
You're
that 4-year-old
right.
needs to take his spiritual life a little bit more seriously. Thank you all so much for listening to the Esau McCauley podcast. I want you to do me a favor. If you are listening to this on any podcast, please share this with your friends. Let them know about it. We want to spread the word about our podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And everybody, share this stuff. We want to get the Taylor Swift and all of this other stuff that we're doing, hopefully the glorification of God, out into the world. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I will talk to you all next week. The Esau McCauley podcast is a production of Holy Post Media, produced by Mike Stay Low, Stray Low. If you know, now you know. Edited by Seth Gorvette, like a Corvette. Music by Rob Noor. Make sure to follow the show wherever you get your podcast and leave a review so more people can find it. See you next time. I'm out.